welcome visitors to Nashua, New Hampshire, home of the District No. 1 Schoolhouse, 1841. First, a little history about early Nashua, and then we'll get on to the schoolhouse itself. After years of debate, the boundary line between Massachusetts and New Hampshire would finally be established, splitting one town into Dunstable, Massachusetts and Dunstable, New Hampshire. You can only imagine the confusion that reigned for 95 years until Nashua became the official new name of Dunstable, New Hampshire in 1836. During the 1820s, Nashua would become one of 4 major textile cities on the Merrimack River that spurred New England's growth and prosperity during the Industrial Revolution. Lowell, Lawrence in Massachusetts, Manchester, Nashua in New Hampshire became great and bustling cities. Miles of red brick mills lined the banks of the river to make use of the water power that would serve a growing industry and an urban population. In 1841, Nashua's entire population was 6,054 inhabitants. The 1,448 mill workers of the Nashua Manufacturing Company and the Jackson Mills that churned out 15 million yards of cotton each year populated busy downtown streets. 1,288 of the mill workers were women, working for 160 men. 50 stores operated on or near Nashua's main street. By 1841, the Nashua and Lowell Railroad connected the rider to Boston for $1.50. Stagecoaches left Nashua for all parts of New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, and Canada. Nashua had 5 selectmen who ran city government and oversaw the school system. There were 7 police officers who kept the peace, 3 fire engine companies were on call 24 hours a day, and Nashua boasted 10 doctors and 7 lawyers. Nashua was proud to report 2 private high schools, 2 multi-room schools in the downtown area, and 9 what they called suburban schools, or those schools that we would consider country schools. So we take a trip 4 miles south of town, where family farms and dense tracts of forest spread across the border between New Hampshire and Massachusetts. This area was, and still is, known as South Nashua. In South Nashua, one of those 9 suburban schoolhouses still stands today as testament to Nashua's commitment to free public education. This is the District No. 1 Schoolhouse. Built in 1841, it remains today the only existing schoolhouse in its original form. Its very preservation is most likely because of its location right next to the Old South Burial Ground, honored and respected for centuries, still protecting its 243 inhabitants. How fortunate we are to have located tucked away in the National Historical Society the original entry book kept by the Prudential School Committee of the district beginning in 1809, passed on for 70 years to document their discussions and their decisions. The greatest treasure was finding the entries that told of the decision to build the new schoolhouse in 1841. Just prior to the decision to build a new schoolhouse, the Superintendent of Schools report of 1840 is very clear on the conditions of the old schoolhouse in District No. 1, and it read like this. The schoolhouse in District No. 1 is in great need of repair. The consequence has been considerable irregularity of attendance from colds. The committee goes on to say, there was an unusual coughing at examination. It is hoped that the district before next winter will employ a carpenter and thus save the expense of a physician and increase the usefulness of the teacher. Close quotations. Here, in one meeting, the good people decided to raise the money, purchase the land for the schoolhouse, and sell off the existing school. These good citizens of District Number 1 were certainly no nonsense. The schoolhouse was built in the fall of 1841 at a cost of $629 that they raised themselves. It took only a few weeks to construct the little brick schoolhouse, and it opened for classes in November of 1841. In 1842, the Nashua school superintendent's reports were very complimentary about the new schoolhouse in District 1. This is what it said. District Number 1 schoolhouse has suffered the last few winters for the want of a comfortable schoolhouse. But the good people have aroused themselves and set an example worthy of the rank that they hold as number 1. They have built one of the best schoolhouses in town. It is of brick, convenient in its interior arrangement, admirably located with liberal grounds appended, and provision has been made to adorn the area with verdure and shrubbery. This has cost only about 1% on the taxable property in the district. Let's make a visit to this beautifully preserved schoolhouse, restored for our country's bicentennial in 1976 by the ladies of the Nashua Circle of the King's Daughters. The group continues to maintain the school and fund the annual field trip for every 4th grader, generally 41 4th grades in Nashua, and 3 surrounding towns of 30 4th grades every year. At first glance, you take in the businesses that surround the burial ground, surprised by this little piece of history set facing the Daniel Webster Highway. And then you marvel amidst a cacophony of traffic noises, motorcycles and sirens. But then you let that all drift away as you approach the serenity of the schoolyard. Stepping into the 180-year-old District Number 1 schoolhouse is like entering a time machine where you smell the wood-burning stove and you feel the patina left by thousands of hands across the reproduction but accurate 1841 desks and benches. Ink spills stain the wood, evidence of cursive writing lessons of times gone by, but created by today's scholars unfamiliar with dipping pens. You marvel at the simplicity of the benches, the slate blackboard purchased for $1.25 in 1841, and the great 12 over 12 windows surrounding the room for added light. The wainscoting is original, the color researched for authenticity. The double front doors, one for the girls and one for the boys, are great, heavy and sturdy, mismatched, and probably salvaged and reused by the frugal locals who built that schoolhouse in the fall of 1841. The teacher's slant-top desk and chair befit the times with original mid-19th century books on top for an authentic feel for instruction. The regulator schoolhouse clock needs winding, but it keeps excellent time when the temperature is above 32 degrees. It's a little finicky. The metronome awaits a song, possibly America, My Country 'Tis of Thee.
My country 'tis of thee, sweet
The 1841 American flag with 26 stars speaks of a nation half grown, while pioneers were just beginning their westward migration and our country was integrating immigrants from across Europe and the United Kingdom. Lessons at the District No. 1 Schoolhouse for our 2-hour visit include recitation, spelling, reading aloud while towing the line, slate work, mental and written arithmetic, memory gems, and poetry. Visitors reliving 19th century schooling always enjoy using slates and slate pencils, ink and steel-tipped pens for a penmanship lesson. We often discuss patriotism and our responsibility to be good citizens. We conduct question and answer sessions, and there are many interesting questions coming from our scholars. And we talk about the difficulties of being a single teacher, teaching all the grades and all the levels in that one little building. We display older slates and pencil boxes, mostly for atmosphere, lunch pails, water bucket, water crock, and a wood box filled with wood complete the setting. Toys are reminiscent of days gone by, simple, common, and handcrafted. Wooden toys, cloth scrap dolls, and clay marbles can be found in our schoolroom. 1800s discipline is always a fun thing to reenact with our scholars. The dunce cap, a public paddling, the dreaded rap on the knuckles with a hickory stick, the pinch of an earlobe, loss of recess, a braid pegged to the wall. Certainly our naughty scholars are all volunteers, and we treat the subject in modern times with levity and a discussion of how differently we deal with classroom issues today. And finally, toward the end of the day, weather permitting, we might make a visit to the adjacent burial ground, and it's always a hit. The gravestones offer up numerous stories, like that of Thomas Lund and 7 of his friends who, in quotations, was slew all in a day by the Indians, closed quotations, misspelled and grammatically incorrect for all eternity. We can locate honored Revolutionary War heroes and find the stones of resident children who never made it past the tender ages of 4 weeks, 6 months, 3 years, and 9 years. We visit the oldest grave of Elizabeth Weld, buried in 1687 at the age of 31. Elizabeth's stone is more like a footstone than a headstone, since her husband Thomas Weld, the Reverend Thomas Weld, had his marker placed above hers in 1702. We scale the hill to locate Colonel Ebenezer Bancroft, who served in the French and Indian War, the Battle of Bunker Hill, and the American Revolution, and lived to be 90 years old. So many more and so little time. With every class experience, we prove how much we value the history of our little symbol of American education, and the children invariably leave saying, "This is the best field trip I've ever been on," and they mean it. Each student is given a Reward of Merit card as a gift and a memory of their little visit to the District No. 1 Schoolhouse. And just a few parting notes for our viewers. The schoolhouse is technically owned by the Nashua Cemetery Commission, but they appreciate the stewardship and the care offered by the King's Daughters, who have maintained the building for 45 years. So we'd like to thank you for visiting our schoolhouse today, and we hope you've enjoyed this Country School Association of America tour from your easy chair. Come and visit sometime.